Hey everyone, this is Kevin with Forex-Trading This video, we're going to talk about support and resistance lines. When you're looking at charts and markets, you always want to be able to identify those areas where you know or where you can expect prices to change, bounce, pull back, or break through. But ultimately, you're expecting them to pause or make some sort of market decision on which way they want to go. So a lot of times we want to use those areas to try to look for signs of places to enter or exit markets. So that's what this video is going to look at. We're going to look at essentially how to draw and identify the levels where you can put those on your chart and leave and evaluate later on and see if those are in line with your other analysis tools and things like that we talk about in our other videos. So we'll take looking at the Euro chart. One thing you want to do, there's multiple things you can do when you look at getting ready to start to draw your support and resistance lines. The first thing you always want to, or I always like to start at higher time frame levels. Depending on the time frame you're trading, a lot of people like to look at long or high hour chart trading, daily, weekly time frame, 4 hour, daily, 4 hour, and 1 hour is usually what I trade. Anything less than that, there's too many changes and too many inconsistencies in the market to really get a good idea of at least the methods that I use of getting good support and resistance changes with the market. They don't normally apply as well in my experience. So right now I'm looking at a daily time frame of the Euro. Or actually we can let's go to the weekly. We'll start there. So this will provide us with one or two lines that we can look at just for overall perspective. One thing I'm using, and sometimes it makes it clearer, we can see it a little while. Right now I've got the charts showing using bars. We can change charts to candles, bars. I would suggest when you go to look at putting support and resistance lines, you use the bars, or sometimes even better is the line charts. Right now it's blue, but that's okay. I'll change it to black. A little bit easier to see. So ultimately you can see support and resistance lines, areas we're looking at to where the price is touching, making or responding to that level and making a direction change, or pausing, or consolidating. Just from this initial look, you can see there's a couple areas we can look at on the weekly time frame. So what I normally do is do a horizontal line at those areas. So obviously we'll look at one here at the top. Then we'll look at any other areas where you see multiple touches or areas where it's consolidated. So you can see here's one, we're hitting it here, a little pause there, returning back, acting as resistance here, dropping down, coming back, acting as resistance there, didn't break through, so it's dropped down, and so on. So that's another area. We can look at another one here. What you want to do is you want to try to identify the general area of where you get the most number of touches. So, here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it's consolidating here. So 7 or 8 times there is a good area. And then you just proceed to find those areas on your chart where you've identified these. And like we've learned before in our other video, support and resistance is just what it sounds. So when you're looking at price, you see price moving up and ultimately hit a resistance level. So when you hit that resistance level, that's where you're looking at price to make some decisions on which way it wants to go. So here it's hit the resistance, drop down. Here it's broken through resistance, went to another area, and so on. So once you've broken through a resistance level, typically that level ultimately turns into a support level. So here's not really a good example. We've broken through, and then we've kind of broken back through as a support level. So we've identified a couple of areas. We'll look over here. So this previous resistance level back here ultimately has become a support level once we've made this push up to the highs here years ago, and then ultimately it has dropped back down back in 2008. A lot of market moves there, but ultimately we hit this previous resistance level, which is now support, and then from there it responded, continued up, and then likewise it continued back down roughly, in this support or in this previous support area, responds back up, and here we've got another area where this has kind of been defined as a resistance level where it was rejected, came back down. On the way back up, visited that area again, and was rejected yet again. So you kind of see the concept, went back down to support area, and so on. So that's a good way to identify key areas, key price levels, particular pairs, and see how the market reacts. You've got thousands and thousands of traders who have identified these levels. So they're planning their trades based on those levels and ultimately driving and forming these support and resistance areas. So it makes a pretty good tool to recognize where some of these areas are. So that's on a weekly time frame. Not everyone trades long-term trades like that. So ultimately you want to drill down and essentially do the same thing. So we've got our weekly chart, and we go down to daily. We still have those levels, which will help us in our shorter time frame trading. And we can do the same thing for these levels as well, but on a daily aspect. So we get a little bit more defined support and resistance lines. And what you want to do is some people use different colors for different time frame support and resistance. I like to do that as well. It just depends on your feel of making sure you keep it all straight and not too many lines. Sometimes can be a little bit too much. So I've created a couple templates here that I like to use. That's not actually daily. We had that on weekly, but a lot of times I'll use daily and weekly just because of the time frame. Weekly doesn't go back. Doesn't provide you with too many support or resistance lines. So I usually change those to daily when I'm looking at the daily time frame, and then add some more that I see. So let me change these. So as you can see, we have a few other, now that we've drilled down into lower time frames, we have some other levels that may present some other support resistance areas. So we can ultimately do the same thing, add some more lines, more levels, add some other levels here just on a daily time frame where we can look at that may better fine tune some trading opportunities. Here we've got several touches in this area. Broke through, came back above, touched here, consolidated here, touched here. So you can see a little bit smaller time frame where you have a couple of other shorter term touch areas and levels defined. So that does look like a lot, but like I said, you need to learn to get a feel of how many you like to see. Some levels are stronger than others, things like that. So when we move on to 4 hour, shorter time frame, Euro has a lot of consolidation over the last year or two, but so we'll make some other lines, designate those as a 4 hour, different color, just so we can kind of see the differences. So you get the point of distinguishing different levels and how they may affect your trading. You can find multiple levels that you'll have touches, and you start defining too many, and they're ultimately so close that it's kind of impossible to try to figure out how to trade them. So it's just an art of, it can be an art to define, to find your levels that you like to look at. So you can see we've got several levels here where you can see price will bounce around, touch, respond, come back. So support and resistance levels are good to leave on your chart. You don't normally analyze them every day, every week, obviously, because they're ultimately going to stay. Now you may go back every couple of weeks and look and see if they've changed or added new shorter time frame levels. The 4 hour, sometimes even the daily, depending on where you're at on the chart. So you'll get a good idea of how the market can change around these levels and how to possibly play them, especially when you get into how to trade support and resistance, which is another video. Using price action and using other tools and combination of other indicators, things like that. So support and resistance lines are definitely one of the biggest traders' tools that are most widely used to identify levels. One other thing that is more obvious as a support resistance line or levels are key prices. Like in Euro, 2400, 2300, 2000, 1.2, things like that. So a lot of those, especially if those are coinciding with an overall past support and resistance levels that are pretty consistently changing direction around those levels. So always keep an eye out for those. I don't normally draw those at each of those levels just because then you got even more lines on your chart. It can make it a little bit more confusing. So this is using TradingView. We have a tutorial video on how to use TradingView a little bit better, but it's not much different than any other charting package. Not much different than MetaTrader. Okay, so if we want to look at using MetaTrader to make a support and resistance lines, pretty much the same thing. Draw the lines where you want them. Make the same adjustments. You can change different colors, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't really change a whole lot. make them different thicknesses. But it is a little bit different when you make different thickness. It doesn't allow you the option of making dash lines and things like that. So whatever charting package you use will have similar features with creating the lines and adding them in. So hope that this was helpful. We'd like to see these on our charts a lot. Sometimes we go back to basic charts without all these, but it's good to have these there, able to in your trading, using different methods and different analysis. Definitely over time you'll see how these support and resistance lines do factor in. So we hope you enjoy the video. Please check out our other videos online. If you're a member, obviously you have access to all these videos. We have free videos, Forex-Trading-analysis.com. Thank you.